gonna redo the video on how to set up a crested gecko cage. First things first, this is an Exoterra 18-inch by 18-inch by 18-inch cube cage. We do carry them on our website. We do not ship them at this time, so if you want to get one, you're going to have to find it locally. All of the retail locations do carry them, so if you're interested in getting it at one of our retail stores, you can pick it up there. This is a bag of hydroton. I like to put it in as a drainage layer because this is going to be a planted vivarium. Go ahead and dump the whole thing in here. Hydroton is nice because it helps make sure that the plant roots that we're going to be planting in here, it helps make sure that they stay aerated, the water doesn't smell, it basically helps the cage stay nice and fresh. I like to use the Zoom Med terrarium mesh just because you can't see it once you put it here into the cage. It's going to be separating your hydroton from the dirt and the other substrate that you put inside. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that in there. As you can see, it actually comes in several different sizes. This is the 18-inch by 18-inch mesh, so it's perfectly designed for this size cage. Next step is to add your substrate. This is Eco-Earth, and I'm using Eco-Earth because this way it gives something for the plants to root into. I don't like using it as the top layer of substrate for animals like crested geckos because crested geckos will get lots of this stuff in their mouth when they go to eat. They're very, very clumsy feeders. So you don't want to have this as the top layer of substrate, but you also will have a really hard time planting plants if you just put them straight into cypress or orchid bark. So this is a nice happy medium. You can put this for a few inches underneath and it'll give your plant something to root into. I'm going to plant a ficus tree in here. Ficus trees are really, really enjoyed by crested geckos just because they give them a nice, good place to go hide in and sleep in. They actually like to curl up in the nests of leaves. So ficus trees are definitely a good consideration for your crested gecko cage. Go ahead and mound up your bedding around the root base so you can't see where the roots are anymore. So there we go. And then in a little bit here, we'll just go ahead and trim down the top of this tree a bit, just to make sure it fits in here a bit nicer. Ficus trees grow super fast, and they're super hardy, so you can trim them like that to make it fit a bit better. And there you go, that'll work perfectly. If you're interested in ordering a ficus like this, we do carry them on our website, and the 6-inch pot ficus is going to be the size that you're going to want to use for a cage like this. For crested geckos, you can even use an even taller cage, the 18-18-24 Exoterra, or the Zoom Med type of cage. The 24-inch tall cage might work a little bit better if you want to keep more than just 1 or 2 cresteds, and it will also allow you a lot more room for your ficus tree to be planted. Now, I like to use a bunch of different stuff to decorate the cage with, so I'm just going to try a lot of these things and see what fits and what doesn't. I like to hide where the plant was. Make a little bank here, wedge up for the ficus tree. Do that. Stick a rock here on the other side. Voila, we've got that there. And also this in here. And then crested geckos like to hide in cork hollows and cork tubes. In the wild, they actually sleep in the cork hollows and tubes and nooks and crannies of trees. They actually a lot of times will even defend specific nooks and crannies and have a specific place that they like to sleep all the time. So once you set yours up at home, you may find that it has a preferred sleeping place or a preferred resting place, and it's almost always going to be some kind of cork hollow or tube or someplace where they can kind of wedge themselves into. So it's good to consider getting a bunch of these different types and sizes of cork hollows or bamboo hollows, these kinds of basically wood products that they can hide in. It's what they really prefer doing. With this cage here, we're trying to recreate a naturalistic kind of, a more natural kind of setup for our geckos, and they do like hiding on the cork flats. Again, there's lots of, not necessarily cork, but bark and trees and things where they're from on their islands, so you want to give them lots of different surfaces to hide in and climb on. But you don't want to overcrowd the cage because then they can't jump from side to side. So if you'll notice, I've only got a couple of things that are up tall. Everything else is going to be lower down on the ground. What I'm going to do in this cage is put one more hollow back here, backboard hollow there. There's going to be one up here. Now I'm going to add a couple more live plants. I really like these because they get nice and big, and they grow big and they grow big quick, and they also get really bushy and they cover a lot of ground. So while this plant may not be too big right now, it'll get a lot bigger later on. Go ahead and put that there. Here's another neat plant to add, just for some foliage. So now we'll add some more. And you want to get all your planting done before you add your layer of cypress mulch or orchid bark, just so that way you can go ahead and do what I'm doing right now. Cover up all the roots of your plants and make sure that they're well planted and set up the way you want them to before you actually put the final layer on top. And always move things around. There's no rule that says that the way you put it in when you first set up your cage is the way you have to keep it. So as you can see, I moved this hollow over. Now I'm going to put that. There we go. Have that right there. There we go. So now if you look at it, it's actually got a few different levels. We've got a higher level here, we've got a lower level here. And up here is where we're going to put our water dish. I think that's right where I want it. Now, I like to use cypress mulch as the top layer because it holds a lot of moisture. It's aesthetically pleasing, it's nice looking. The particles are big enough that the gecko, even if it does get some in its mouth, it can just spit it right out. You can go ahead and cover it. It's also an easy substrate to clean. So when your gecko poops or makes a mess of its food, you can easily just kind of spot clean the dirty spots. And there we have it. So that is with the substrate on it. Now, another way to add more stuff for your gecko to climb on without necessarily taking up a lot of the open air inside the cage is to use magnetic things such as this Magnatural hideout here. I really love these, and so do crested geckos, just because they have these little hollows here that they can hide in. They're super easy to add to your cage. All it is magnets, for example. And this is all you gotta do. And there you go. And then your gecko can crawl on the top here, come out on the bottom here. A lot of times you'll just find them sleeping up and around in there. The worm ledge or the gecko ledge. The gecko ledge actually has little spots in it that are perfect for feeding your geckos their crested gecko diet. This particular one is the mealworm dish. You can use it, you can alternate between offering worms or offering the crested gecko food in this particular container. As you can see, it's got this little crevice here, so you can just put your disposable mealworm cups or your disposable food cups in here. And that helps keep your cage nice and clean. You can go ahead and just put that right up there. And there you go. And that's it. That is how you make a naturalistic crested gecko terrarium. If you have any questions or if you'd like to order anything that you see here in this video, we do carry everything here in the video on our website at www.LLLReptile.com, and that's where you can check it all out. The last part about this kind of a setup is the light. As you can see, I've added a light to it now. What you're going to want to use for a crested gecko, you don't have to keep them with UVB lighting, but I like to recommend it just because they do tend to do so much better with it. I prefer using in a setup and with a top like this. This is the Exoterra top that's made for the 18-inch cage. I use a 2.0 and a 5.0 bulb. As you can see, they just screw right in here at the top.